Morning and greetings from Northumberland. It's just about sunrise on Tuesday the 19th of January. It's a calm morning and I'm wondering if the promised storms are going to reach us here on the coast today or not. Today we celebrate St. Wulfstan. I'm not going to say a lot about him. He was a monastic figure at about the time of the Norman conquest. He became prior of Worcester and then Bishop of Worcester, and combined the governance of the monastic community there with the role of bishop and in caring for the poor. And indeed there is a tradition that he tried to get rid of the slave trade in Bristol at this time, which is an interesting statement considering the events of last year. But I'm not going to major on Wulfstan. I'm going to look today at the Gospel. And we're looking at Mark chapter 2, verses 23 to the end. And it's the story that many of you know of Jesus and his disciples walking through the cornfield and them grinding the corn and eating it and being criticized by the Pharisees for working on the Sabbath. And Jesus opposes this criticism with precedent from the Old Testament and reminds the Pharisees that the Sabbath was made for man, for humankind, and not for the other way around. But what it highlights for me is, this is the second chapter of St. Mark, and of course St. Mark's a very short gospel, and it compresses the life of Jesus into a few very short chapters. And so very early on, we get this opposition between Jesus and the authorities. Jesus and the Jewish authorities and the lawyers and the party of the Pharisees and all these things. And it's thrown into sharp contrast in St. Mark, because Jesus is saying things that challenge the way they think. Jesus is saying things to them that challenge their preconceptions. And the amazing thing is that 2,000 years later, Jesus still does this. Jesus can still challenge the conceptions of the rich and the powerful and call them to look at the way they live. And when I say call them, I mean call us, because in our world's terms, most of us are richer and more powerful than many, many people throughout the world. Jesus challenges us to look at the way we live and to look at the way we live in relation to other people and in relation to God. Are we seeking to follow the way of Christ? Are we seeking to love our neighbour as ourselves? Whether that person is a neighbour on universal credit or a neighbour in the third world who needs clean water or access to better food. Jesus calls us to look at the way in which we live and how it affects the way in which others will live. This is important as we look at the pandemic. We're all very pleased. I'm very pleased the way the marvellous unrolling by the National Health Service of the vaccinations are going. And like most people, I'm thinking, where am I in this table? Am I going to get this vaccination before or after Easter? That's a bit selfish, but it's there for most of us. But of course, the pandemic will not begin to be really addressed until this vaccination is rolled out across the world, so that we combat it not only in our own country, but in the most poor and deprived parts of the world. What we do in relation to others has an effect for them and for ourselves. And Jesus challenges us to look at the way we live, to see if what we accept as okay is really okay, just as he challenged the religious leaders about their prejudices and preconceptions. May Jesus Jesus challenge and transform us today. And may God bless us all.